Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 3, season 2 of the Three at the Back podcast. I'm your host, Darren Butler, and again, I'm joined by Scott Barron and Paul O'Donoghue.
Hey.
So today's episode is going to be about the sack race. It's that thing that it's not just played on school playgrounds or sports days or anything else like that. This is the first manager to get the sack in the Premier League, it's become a custom now. We almost expect someone to be sacked in the Premier League. It's a very sad state of affairs that is the case, but it's almost like you get to October, November, and already someone's job is like who's going.
Sometimes before that.
Before that, yeah.
I mean,
Watford
went through 4 managers last season.
4 managers.
4.
1 manager every 2.5 months. Unbelievable.
I won that bet, didn't I? I won that bet.
You did win that bet, yeah.
He hasn't paid up.
That's right. I'll pay. I'll pay. When we all go away to our Dortmund trip or whatever.
Wait,
you pay it then.
we can't do anything. we're COVID housebound. So. Right. I'll bank that.
Yeah, bank it. Just like I'm going to bank the £100 that you've offered me if West Ham finish rock bottom.
I'll run naked through Basingstoke if that comes true.
It keeps getting better.
I will tattoo my penis with hammers on it.
Oh wow! So you guys, if you listen, if you listen to episode 1, Scott has offered a great many riches and things and forfeits if West Ham finish rock bottom of the table.
No, relegated.
Even just relegated.
I'll be so happy that I'll do whatever you want.
Fair enough. So with that in mind, West Ham to be relegated was my prediction. I had them finishing rock bottom of the table just because of the catastrophe that the club is from top to bottom, from the boardroom downwards, the transfer policies, everything. You probably would have seen the news yourselves. Even some of the more senior players coming out talking about like the transfer or the sale of a young prospect, Grady Dianger. So for me, that really kind of felt like that was it's got the backstory for a team that's going to fail this year, and for me, they're going to finish rock bottom in the Premier League.
So can we have a punt who you put as your manager to get sacked?
Well, I think the board.
Is there a side bet on this as well?
I don't think the board of directors, Gold, Sullivan, and Brady, are going to take accountability for that anytime soon. And I think as soon as the team starts to fail and starts losing games and starts finding themselves in a relegation scrap, I think David Moyes is definitely going to be up for the chop, and he's 100% my pick to be the first manager to be booted in the beginning of this Premier League season.
How many games do you give him?
10.
That many?
I'd give him 10 games. Yeah, I think that's like.
That's the ballpark, isn't
That's
it?
the ballpark, isn't it? That's generally...
Where you're at as a team after 10 games is generally whereabouts you'll finish.
And bearing in mind as well, the transfer window won't even be closed by that point. Like 10 games in, the transfer window is still open. October 3rd, I think it closes. First week of October. Yes. So, all right, maybe the window will still be closed, but we'll be like 6-7 games in, 8 games in. West Ham could feasibly, realistically be at the bottom of that table, not scoring goals, not winning games that they should be winning. And I think Moyes will definitely be taking the blame, even though I don't fully believe that he's accountable for all of the problems that West Ham have got.
He was brought in to steady the ship, keep them up.
Yeah.
He's done both those things. They looked slightly better at the end of the season.
They did.
Yeah.
So why not carry that on into this season?
I just think because of the way that the players have reacted to not just to this one particular transfer, but to the fact that the board are not willing to invest, they're not bringing in replacements, they're not bringing in people of sufficient quality. Or
it's because they spent so much over previous windows.
True, but then those players have almost proven to not be worth that kind of capital as well. You look at the money that they spent on Felipe Anderson. Yes, it looks like he probably might even be moving on to Arsenal.
No, never.
but it doesn't feel. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't feel like it's a group that's got their shit together. Like the board are fighting amongst themselves. The board are fighting with the fans. The players are fighting with the board because of the transfer policy. It's all a great big mess at West Ham at the moment.
That's the normal for West Ham. They've been doing this for season after season.
Yeah, they are a bit of a yo-yo club. I tend to agree. I see them as a team that's in deep transition. And without that personal investment, I don't think they've invested wisely in the previous transfer windows. I don't see, Haller being the guy that's going to step up and get them the goals, etc.
I was going to say that that Jared Bowen to me was a great signing. That he will supply the bullets, I think, for Haller to show what he's about. I think Haller's good for 15, 16 goals.
Ooh.
Given the bullets.
So bearing in mind the Golden Boot winner last year finished on 23,
yeah.
You think Sebastian Haller is going to score 16 goals?
I think he has potential. If he's been given the service, I mean, last year he was. The guy needs to be supplied in a certain way. Mm. He's not mobile, but he's a good finisher and he's fantastic in the air. You need to supply crosses from out wide. Yeah. Antonio and Jared Bowen doing that for him gives him that chance. I think that's not a bad front three. It's certainly not a relegation front three.
It's not a bad front three, but it would make me sceptical on their potential league position. I do think Moyes.
It's more about
will be at risk at some point this season. I don't think he'll be. I don't think they'll be down there as Darren is predicting. I don't think he'll be first on the chopping block. But I do think at some point this season his position will be questioned. I would like to think they'll give him until January to maybe change anything that's gone wrong.
So I'll put it out there. I think Moyes will get sacked.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
But I think he'll get sacked deeper in the season when they're properly struggling. Because
when relegation looks like a real threat.
Well,
because the boards and the fans and the players, they're not going to accept relegation, are they? They're going to want to finish.
We talked about West Ham before. The West Ham fans want top six.
Yeah.
And the money that they have been spending is not money that for a team that should be finishing down there.
And the squad of players they've assembled is good enough for top 10.
Yeah, you look at the Flea Banners, you look at Declan Rice,
Lanzini.
Don't forget Mark Noble. El Capitan.
Well, their problem is at the back. Their problem is across the back four. They're shocking. They're shocking. You take out Cresswell out of that back four, Abona, Diop, Fredericks. Yeah. They're all championship level players.
Yeah, it's pretty average, isn't it?
That's where their problem lies. I mean, Noble did a great servant for the club, but his days are gone.
Yeah.
I mean, Rice is his replacement, but they tend to play together.
Yeah.
You're playing two pretty immobile holding mids and asking Antonio to run the channels and put the ball in the net. I mean, it's a squad of players that on paper is decent, but as a team doesn't function.
Yeah.
So you're right to say they're going to struggle.
Yeah.
For sure. And say that Moyes will be under the chop because he hasn't addressed that. They won't go down though, unfortunately.
Fair enough. I mean, that's my number one pick in terms of the game that we're going to play and how we're going to top the points up at the end of the season. Moyes is my number one pick. Whether he gets sacked first, second, or third, that will determine how many points I earn at the end of this season. I know you guys probably have a differing opinion. So Scott, who's your number one choice that's going to earn you maximum points when he is sacked mid-September?
So the managers that are sacked, it's all about not exceeding expectation. That's what it's all about. Yeah. So you can be Slaven Bilic and finish bottom of the league and not get sacked because that's the expectation of your club.
Yeah.
So my choice is a manager that has over-exceeded last season,
right?
And in my view will under-exceed this season.
I know where you're going.
Brendan Rodgers. I think Leicester will struggle to maintain what they achieved last year. They've already lost Chilwell. There's always signs in there that the squad could be broken up. If you take Vardy out of the equation, they're in big trouble.
So your prediction, Scott, was 10th? They finished 10th?
10th, yeah. They got Europe to juggle this season as well with a paper-thin squad.
Is that below expectation though for their squad?
Absolutely. From what they achieved last season, absolutely. Yeah.
I think if you're Leicester, you want to keep building.
Yep.
You know, they'll take that Premier League win as an anomaly. But I think.
But you want to build on that, don't
as
you?
Leicester, you want to keep building. You want to keep challenging. So they want to see. Well, if I was a Leicester fan, I would expect them to be top 6,
pushing
to top 6 every season.
Yeah.
You know, you want that European places. You want to be in European football. And if they're not this coming season, which myself and Scott have both predicted, I think you were there as well, Dan, round about?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, then I could see why he would again come under threat, because if especially when they've got, as we mentioned in previous episodes, quality like Harvey Barnes, like Tielemans. Obviously they've got Jamie Vardy, but I think that's where they've become, I guess, a little bit over reliant on his goals.
So reliant on him.
Yeah.
And he's aging now, and there's no guarantee he's gonna keep that form going, or how long he can keep that form going.
But they got no backup for him.
To replace him.
I mean, in that.
Nacho
is his backup, and I mean the guy's not worth 8 goals a season probably. In that team.
Ian Nacho was brought in from Man City as a big money signing, or certainly big money for Leicester at the time, 25 million. Comes with a big reputation, a lot of potential. I do think, given game time and the ability to show what he's made of, he could, in time, not necessarily this season, maybe not even next season, but I think in time he will start to replace the goals that Jamie Vardy has provided.
I think it's impossible. I think if a 34-year-old Jamie Vardy is still your main man, I think that's where the problem lies. Again, that's not taken away from the quality that Jamie Vardy possesses and the ability that he has to score goals. I just feel that if you're a team that really wants to push on, then you should have that 21 to 25-year-old guy that's chomping at the bit, that's ready to put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis. I think you should have that guy.
So you remove Vardy from that team.
Well, they're bang average.
And you mid-table
bang
at
average,
best.
because Harvey Barnes is not going to get double figures worth of goals, even though I rate him as a quality player.
They have a lot of good ball players.
And same with Jose Perez. I don't think he's the guy that's going to get regular double figures worth of goals. So you look at that, and then without him, you start to worry about where those goals are coming from. And like you say, that's where they may struggle if that happens.
So Rodgers is my pick.
Fair enough. And Paul, what about yourself? What was your number one pick to be sacked early?
My number one pick is Steve Bruce.
Wow. Okay. See, the thing about Bruce is, obviously, he replaced Rafa Benitez at Newcastle last season.
Yep.
Nobody expected him to last in the job. They kind of thought it was a bit of a Mickey take hire by Mike Ashley, but actually finished higher than Rafa Benitez in the previous season. Got Newcastle playing some decent football. Mm-hmm. So why have you got him down as to be sacked so early on this year?
I think the whole disappointment from the takeover, those fans have got high expectations in general anyway of what Newcastle should be and where they should be.
They're very similar to West Ham in that regard, aren't they?
Yeah,
the fans expect
similar.
more than they can produce.
It's almost like intensified though, because they're a one-club city.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously West Ham have got that competition of other London teams.
Or Sunderland.
Like Newcastle, it's just nothing else other than Newcastle United, isn't it?
Newcastle is one of those bubbles. They're in a bubble, aren't they? That's all they see is Newcastle. You all wear Newcastle. All you see is Newcastle shirts.
Yeah.
No other club is getting a representation at all.
Yeah.
Up there. It's very intense.
Until Gateshead make it into the Football League.
Yeah. It's not going to happen.
I think the disappointment of the takeover not happening, the disappointment of the potential of what Newcastle could have been if that takeover had have happened.
What's your views on that though, in terms of the reasons why it hasn't happened, the reasons why it wasn't ratified by the FA, obviously the the guy that was...
It was a dodgy setup from the word go, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, the guy that was leading it obviously was the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. There's lots of human rights breaches and things like that.
Whatever side of the coin you take it, there's going to be disappointments from either side. Obviously, there was human rights part. There was no actual proof that they had the money they said they had.
Yeah, true.
But then there was also, I've heard lots of stories about the FA selling the story they want to sell and not playing their part in the investigation, etc., etc. Again, I'm not close enough to those details to even question it, so I don't want to get really involved in it. But it never happened, but I still think that level of expectation for Newcastle will still be there, and I don't think they have the capabilities to achieve it. You know, I put them just outside the relegation zone in my predictions. I think that's where they'll finish, based on the fact that they've spent they've spent a fair amount of money on attacking players.
There's news today coming through that Callum Wilson has signed. And Ryan Fraser as well is very close to signing.
Well, I guess
2 great signings to be fair.
That's what they need.
If they get them, that might settle the ship a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, based on what I'm seeing at the moment, you know, if Joelinton's your main guy,
What's what to replace him?
you know, they've spent a lot of money on that guy.
Yeah.
He hasn't produced. Again, I don't like to point blame on just one player because he's been there one season. It's not very fair, but I don't think they have the quality across the pitch. I think they concede a lot of goals. And if John Joe Shelby is your main guy to link the play, then I think you've got a problem. I just don't think they can live up to those expectations, and I think the whole takeover part of it will still be in the thoughts of the fans, and I think they'll still be in the media circus. And I think if they went 4 or 5 games without getting a win, I think the pressure will soon mount on.
So
Stephen
last
Bruce.
season, Steve Bruce was the favourite to be chopped. He won the fans round. Do you think those underlying feelings initially are still there? Given a bad run, those feelings will come back to the fore.
Well, again, I think with the feeling that Newcastle feel they should be performing higher than they are, or a bigger club than they are. I honestly feel a lot of Newcastle fans probably looked at Steve Bruce and thought he was below them, beneath them.
100%, yeah.
As a manager,
Following Rafa, you mean?
As a replacement for Rafa Benitez, 100%.
I guess specifically following Rafa, but I guess in general, if you look at Steve Bruce's recent history, the teams he's managed have been relegation candidates.
So he was a steady pair of hands as opposed to moving them forward.
Yeah, again, like you say, you know, easing the ship, you know, stopping them from sinking any further. He's the guy that, you know, he'll do that.
He's a Sam Allardyce.
Yeah, Sam Allardyce is the David Moyes. Those type of managers are renowned for putting their stamp on it.
So they're always going to be in the firing line.
Always the ones to get the jobs, but always the ones to get the sack like at a moment's notice as well.
They're your replacement guys to keep you up.
Yeah. I'm looking at a manager to go in there. The manager for me to go in there is to get the best out of the likes of St Maximin, who's clearly a talented player. And then get the players defensively that's going to sort them out.
But he looked a player. He lacked someone to put the ball in the back of the net. So maybe Callum Wilson is now the solution to that.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see Callum Wilson like play in front of St Maximin and John Joe Shelby and alongside the likes of Almiron and Joelinton.
I guess there's an argument that their team on paper is better than what Bournemouth have. So I guess
we just named 5 or 6 players there. That's not a bad attacking set of players.
It's certainly not on paper, but it comes down to the tactics, doesn't it?
I guess my thoughts are is that they'd have produced it already. Like I've known Almiron from his MLS days, and the guy's been raved about, and he's shown glimpses of what he's capable of in the Premier League. But you know, as we know, the teams that are the most consistent, if the players that are most consistent are the players and the teams that are up there or down there. And we haven't seen that consistency from those Newcastle players, and that's what I worry about, is that they will still concede plenty of goals when they come against the better opposition, and it's whether they can score those goals when they have those opportunities. And I personally don't believe at this moment in time they will.
Do you think Newcastle fans won't settle for a 14th, 15th place finish? They're looking at 10th.
So where did you have them in your prediction?
I had them just above the relegation zone.
Okay. So it would be tough for Stephen Bruce to survive like a relegation scrap, wouldn't it?
Because I just don't see him scoring the goals. I don't see him scoring the goals to keep them up. Like you say, getting Callum Wilson and Ryan Fraser, if that happens, may alleviate some of that, so they may finish a little bit higher. But again, I don't see Callum Wilson changing their fortunes too much.
I think we've done our assist king chat. I look at St Maximin and think that he's just crying out for someone to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
If he played for a better side, because he has all that attributes and he causes havoc.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he might create enough for Callum Wilson for Newcastle to be pretty dangerous.
I just see him conceding way too many.
Do you? Because they sort of base their survival on them being pretty hard to beat and being resilient. They got turned over by City. Was it 5-0?
Right. Yeah.
But after that, similar thing to Southampton, they sort of went back to the drawing board, went back to basics, and become more resilient.
And it was like 1-0s, 2-1s.
They looked all right.
Yeah.
They looked all right. Yeah, they brought in the
quite tight score lines throughout, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To be honest, I personally think that's the only way they
Of course.
they survive.
That's a good shout.
And I guess for me, it will be the pressure from the Newcastle fans and the media that mean that Stephen Bruce gets sacked first.
Do you think he's under the same pressure from a board level as what Moyes will be at West Ham?
No.
So Mike Ashley's never gonna be accountable for when the team starts to fail. So it's just easy for him to just sack Steve Bruce.
I guess Moyes will have more pressure based on the fact that he probably has more disposable income to spend in the first place, and I think that's probably my main reason is the disappointment of not having that disposable income to spend will mean that as soon as the results turn south, the Newcastle fans will flip immediately, because they'll you see how disappointed they were from the illiterate guy that was on Sky Sports News.
Yeah.
He was representing Newcastle fans. I'm not saying all Newcastle fans are like that, but I guess he was a snapshot of how they're feeling. And that disappointment will automatically put pressure on them to start the season at a certain level, and that they want to get the results against the teams they expect to get the results in. If they don't, then that's where the pressure will come, and that's where I feel he's going to be.
Your two picks are very similar. I see West Ham and Newcastle in terms of their expectations from the supporters as being one and the same.
Yeah,
they're very much looking to be a top six club, because let's face it, they're both very big clubs
from a historical
point of view. The fans sort of latch onto that and aren't really real with what's going on.
Yeah,
here and now.
I think. That has a large part to do with it, but also we come back to it all the time. But you if you were to do like their best 11 on paper, line them up together, and put them against the Sheffield Uniteds and the Brightons and the Aston Villas and everything else like that, they should be beating those teams, and they should be solidifying top 10 finishes.
So the expectation is what gets you fired, because Sheffield United, Villa, West Brom, whoever it is, have got expectations of just staying up. West Ham and Newcastle are looking to break into ground that they can't achieve.
Yeah.
That's what gets you fired.
Yeah.
Slaven Bilic might finish bottom of the league, but won't keep his job because
I think his
done the best he
expectation
can.
was to survive, right?
Yeah.
So if he finishes in the bottom three, he's expected.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other wild cards that you'd put in the hat that you go maybe not automatic choices but would?
Well, I
could be a possibility.
I think obviously Slaven Bilic is probably one of my second choices, just simply because I think the expectation from him is going to be to keep West Brom up, and I think if it gets to January, February, and they're 18th, 19th, 20th, and they don't even look like surviving.
But he's not going to be the first to be fired then, is he?
He's not going to be the first to, maybe not be the first to be fired, but
I'd be amazed if we get to January, February and no one's been sacked already.
True.
I guess you have certain fates that might be there. Have you got anyone, Scott?
I mean, very much on my 1 to 20 that I did. I had Brighton to struggle, Brighton to get relegated. So I've got Graham Potter in there as my second choice.
Yeah.
I think because Brighton will struggle. I can't see where the goals are coming from. They let Glenn Murray go, for God's sake. Where are the goals going to come from?
Aaron Conley and Neil Maupay not going to fire.
They're not on Glenbow's level, are they?
They're not in Glenbow.
He's a Palace legend.
My
pal Glenbow. So I think Potter
is he still a Palace legend after moving down the fucking M23 or whatever it is?
He's the only player that we signed him from Brighton and then flogged him back and still remains a Palace legend. He's the only guy that could do that.
Amazing.
I think Potter, like I explained in my reasoning, is he's expanded the football at Brighton, and I think it's a step too far. They've got to be more resilient with the players they got. I think he's open to be on the chopping block when they start struggling.
Yeah. See, I put Brighton higher, but I tend to disagree a little bit. I think I get what you're saying with Potter, but I think he's a bit more street smart. I think he kind of knows what he's doing. I think he'll pull it in if he feels that Brighton need to defend, or I think he wants that.
Mine's more out of hope that they struggle.
I think his plan A is to play that expansive football that he's familiar with, that he obviously brought with Ostersons, and I think that's what he's tried to portray with Brian. I think he has players that can do that.
But I think once you step over that line and you promise the fans a certain level of it doesn't work when your head's already on that chopping block.
I think
that's where I don't think Brighton fans are fickle enough to know that they have the players to play like that week in, week out.
I think the important thing to know about Graham Potter and his management style is that it's always for the long term. So obviously he took over at Ostersons when they were in like Division 4 of the Norwegian league, Norwegian or Swedish, one of the Scandinavian leagues. But it took over when they were in Division.
Doesn't matter which one.
Doesn't matter.
Cut that out.
We'll go Division 4 Norway or whatever. I don't fucking know, whatever. But he took over then, and his immediate promise to the board of directors at that time was that Östersund would be playing European football inside 6 seasons.
But that's all well and good. But you're in the Premier League.
Yeah.
This is
not
one step up. This
that's
is
what I'm saying. Like for him to go
to Arsenal.
To then they did. It's true. To then move to Swansea and try and develop something there, it didn't work out. Now he's at Brighton. I really feel like that actually the board at Brighton they prefer stability more than any of the other teams in the Premier League. I think if they get relegated, I think Graham Potter is one of those ones that if Brighton get relegated, Potter will keep his job.
Well, they brought him in to replace Houghton because they were sick of the boring, turgid
long ball.
Football.
And I think he offers that, but I also think he's not stupid enough to realise that he hasn't got the level of players to play as expansive as he'd like to play.
Well, the scenario could be that they lose their first 5 games and they get on the back end of some heavy defeats because of the expansive football they want to play. Then he's
I don't know.
under pressure straight away.
I just like the idea that Potter can walk into a 4th division side and go, right, European football in 6 seasons. Yeah. And I feel like he's gone into Brighton and had that same conversation and gone, just give me time. This is how I do things. I promote the youth. I use homegrown talent.
You
like,
don't get
it's going to
that time in
take
the Premier
time.
League.
Like,
You don't get that time though in the Premier League. You
well,
don't get
but
that
that's
time.
what I'm saying. Like, I would assume that he's had that conversation
I guess it goes back to
and gone,
the point
look,
you
don't,
made about
you know, if we get relegated, like, don't use that as leverage to sack me, because a year in the Championship versus being in Europe in 6 years' time, 7 years' time, like, you know, what's the trade? Like, what's the trade-off? Do you know what I mean?
I guess that goes back to your point on expectations. What are Brighton's expectations? And Brighton's expectations is probably finish to stay up and challenge for mid-table where they can.
Play some better football, but to stay up.
Yeah.
And I think he'll do that. I honestly think he'll do that. I think they have the quality of players not to get relegated, and I think they have the level of players to try and produce the football that he's trying to produce.
Yeah.
So I think that's where they'll be, and I think there'll be, I guess, like a build like Swansea, like how Swansea built in the Premier League.
Where's Swansea now?
Okay.
After how many managerial sackings?
I guess, but they had a lot of Premier League football to their history, and I guess Brighton will try to build in a similar way, where they'll expand as they go on, and they'll try to get more attacking as they go on, and I guess they'll just try not end up in the Championship where Swansea are now.
Yeah. I think the in terms of wild card conversations, though, I think we discussed it when we were doing our 1 to 20. I had Spurs quite low down in that conversation. So
Take my thunder.
Spurs finishing 8th.
You got
I had Spurs finishing 6th, and he's on my list.
You've got Jose Mourinho down as
a potential.
as a potential to be sacked first.
They got to start.
I guess I put him there as I guess you kind of call him as a wild card. Maybe not sacked first, but I've put him there as a potential bogey.
Could well
race.
could well be sacked if they don't get.
Mainly because obviously they ended the season where they probably wouldn't want to end. He's been given significant investment for Spurs as a team. You look at their team from 1 to 11. They're not a team that should be struggling. They're a team that probably should be competing for top honours, and they're not for whatever reasons. And I do think if Jose takes this defensive first mentality, I do think Tottenham will become unstuck because of it. I think the amount of attacking threat they have, with Son, Kane, Bergwijn, Moira, Lamella, Ali. I think that all that attacking threat, you can't restrict these players to playing in a system that they have to stick to positions.
But he signed Doherty, which might suggest that he's not going to do that.
Yeah, and I guess that. But as we spoke about in our predictions, defensively they've not been sound. Obviously, we have no guarantee that they're going to get back to the Tottenham of old, where they were keeping clean sheets for fun. I think Vertonghen no longer being there is a big miss, and that personality, and not having that world class guys who go in there, because Davinson Sanchez is still fairly, I guess, fresh face.
Quite raw, isn't he?
Quite raw, in regards to the Premier League, and quite ambitious in how it, in his feelings. He gets caught up in his feelings quite a lot, and he gets quite good quite a lot. And, which, in a Jose team where it's defensively sound, that's not what you need. So I just feel defensively, if they become unstuck, which again it's a possibility, it's not a dead cert. They might be.
Well, I mean, they uncharacteristically
I guess last season was very uncharacteristic for them, and if it carries on, I just think he will be questioned. And if their opening results don't go how they plan, Harry Kane doesn't become on all cylinders, or their attacking threat is a bit mixed match, then I think he'll be questioned, and I think he'll be questioned first, more than any of the top 6 clubs. Mainly based on his historical knowledge of the Premier League and his awards.
So being at Chelsea, being at Man United, now being at Spurs, he knows a lot about the Premier League.
And the accolades, you expect, I guess, a certain level from him. And if Tottenham don't live up to that, and like you say, if after 5 or 6 games they are 8th, as you predict they'd finish, then I think questions will start being asked.
Do you think Jose was a weird appointment to start with? Because to me it was a very strange one.
I think from a team that is based on their pace and attack.
Well, they went from Pochettino, who was all about the flair and the driving, attacking, to hiring a defensive-minded coach.
It was strange, more so because you never felt like a high-profile coach like Mourinho would end up at Spurs. And that's no disrespect to Spurs fans or Spurs as an organisation. It would be like, honestly, like Mourinho and Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, they're on their own pedestal. It would literally be like if Jurgen Klopp was to turn up one day.
The Spurs are at their level, right? From a financial, an ecosystem point of view. Spurs are at their level.
You look at the ground they got. I mean, I think they're an elite club, aren't they?
They are an elite club, and they're making a lot of the right moves, and they're putting money where they need to put it, but.
They're a bigger club than Arsenal.
I just don't know. It always feels like
different.
It always feels really false. Do you know what I mean? Like the money's been put into a new stadium, the money's been put into a squad, the money's been put into world-class managers, but it's all so.
So what you're trying to say is
it's not organic.
They're trying to punch above their own weight.
100%. It's not organic. Like
because they haven't won anything.
Exactly. That's probably
says
more,
the Arsenal fan.
Yeah, but Arsenal,
FA Cup winners last season.
FA Cup winners. They've won the Premier League. They've won. Do you know what I mean? They've been in Champions.
2 trophies in a month.
Bearing in mind, Arsenal have won what four out of the last 5. Yeah, but bear in mind, Arsenal have won 4 out of the last 5 FA Cups. They've won the Premier League. They've been Champions League finalists.
Still a trophy. If you ask a Tottenham fan if they could win any trophy. I'm not saying what it is. Any trophy, they take it.
Yeah,
they take it.
But Darren's trying to say that Mourinho is an elite coach. I think Tottenham are an elite club.
What I'm saying is for Spurs to have 65, 70,000 seat stadium, whatever it is, to have the squad that they have, arguably the best 11, set 11,
still very strong. Yeah.
In the Premier League, arguably. To have one of the best coaches in the world, but to have absolutely no history of winning trophies or actually being anywhere fucking near winning trophies, it feels money driven and so false.
They can
plastic.
Win the Champions League,
do you know what I mean? Like it's not like he's gone to Man United, and it's not like he's gone.
You're trying to make. I understand the point.
If they won the Champions League, then would that change people?
Yeah, of course. They need
if Spurs had won,
Carabao Cup, an FA Cup,
anything.
But a Champions League is the highest level.
Of course.
Clubs, and they come close to winning that. So
if Spurs had won the Champions League that year. In that final against Liverpool, the fucking worst final I think I've ever watched in my life. But yes, it may have validated more Jose Mourinho's appointment. It would have validated more £160 million squad. It would have validated more having Jose Mourinho as coach.
But that's
the
the
point is
they
haven't. And what
that's what they're operating at, but they're not getting the success to gratify that.
And this is why
when you're in that big
Jose
stadium, when
Mourinho
those fans are paying
a
that
risk.
money to go there, they want to see those players lifting trophies. Harry Kane is not there to pick up a paycheck. He wants to lift trophies to Tottenham Hotspur, and if he isn't, I would give him this season. If Harry Kane doesn't see Tottenham move in a direction, he is their main guy, then he's gone. He's gone to a top European club, to a top Premier, to a Man United, to a Man City.
I'll put it on record. I'll put it on record now.
He'll go to them, to a Real Madrid, to a Barcelona.
He's Karim Benzema's replacement. He is Karen Benzema's replacement.
I wouldn't argue with that. But Tottenham have their say in it, don't they?
Of course they do.
And I guess that's the point. If
Real Madrid have got to pay the price, of course.
Is Tottenham have their own destiny in their own hands, and they are ahead. They have built a club to where they're ahead of where their trophy cabinet says, and they have all the attributes to do that. But until they do that, then I guess from a fan's perspective and from a team's and a calibre perspective, then people aren't going to take them seriously. Even as an Arsenal fan, I don't see them as a threat. They could finish above us in the next 4 seasons. But until they start winning trophies, I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less that they finish 4th, we finish 5th. I don't care. I don't care they're in the Champions League. Until they start stacking up some trophies and we can start talking on a level, then they aren't on Arsenal's level.
And that's the reason.
I'm an Arsenal fan on a downward spiral, but we've won trophies even on a downward spiral. I would imagine, if I was a Tottenham fan, that they would have died to win the FA Cup last season. Harry Kane would have died to the FA Cup last season. If Harry Kane finishes his career and doesn't win any trophies with Tottenham, he's going to look on that and regret it, and regret some of the decisions he made. He may have had opportunities to move, he may have not.
It's like Alan Shearer, isn't it? Alan Shearer had the opportunity to move to Manchester United, and he, as much as he's Newcastle's biggest fan and obviously one of the best players that's ever played for him, he himself will tell you it's one of his biggest regrets not moving to Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson at a time when they were winning trebles and FA Cups and Premier Leagues and whatever else. So he would have been one of the, regardless. So he may not even have ended up as being the world, like the Premier League's all-time top goal scorer by moving to Manchester United.
He would have certainly.
But he would have had Premier League titles, FA Cup titles, Champions League titles to his name.
Yeah.
And this is why the likes of Jose Mourinho, as an elite coach as he is, being at Tottenham, his head is always going to be on a chopping block, because the expectation and the falsehood that is created by having a massive stadium and having a great team on paper that's created.
It's not, is it? That's the ecosystem they've built. That's the ecosystem that Tottenham expects.
But it puts him in the firing line.
That's why I foresee him in the firing line, is because Tottenham fans have now the fact that they could sack Pochettino, that Tottenham would be nowhere where they are today without him.
Yeah.
The fact they can sack him for what he'd done for the club.
Agreed.
And that would suggest that the fans and the club itself have now built a certain level of expectation of where Tottenham should be. Mm-hmm. And that is challenging for the top 4. That is challenging for trophies.
Top 6, 5, 4, top 4. They want to be in the Champions League.
So I said that Mourinho was a strange choice. Maybe it was the perfect choice because he's a serial winner. He's won trophies wherever he's been.
That's why he was chosen.
So maybe that's why he was given the job, because he will win them a trophy this season, no matter what trophy that is.
But if they don't, that's why he'll be in the firing line, right?
That's why I chose it.
If he gets knocked out of the FA Cup early, if he doesn't look like he's going to be anywhere near the top 4 of the Premier League, he's going to been the firing line.
He's not your coach to move your squad or your team forward, but he'll win you trophies.
He's always been the manager that's been given, I guess, money to spend and time
trusted
to put his stamp on it. And I think
so. From the start of the season, it's his.
It's
team.
his now. Yeah. It's his to take that reign. So again,
expect a different Spurs from the start of the season. Maybe
I feel there's a coin flip of whether we get the Spurs that we expect, and they score lots of goals and they don't concede very many, or is it the Spurs where they struggle to break down the teams that are defensively a bit more sound, and they lose points where they should win points. Mm-hmm. And I think if that happens, which is a possibility, then I think Jose will be up there as to be chopped first.
Yeah. So I've gone with David Moyes. You've gone Steve Bruce as your first choice in respect to winning points and our game at the end of the season. Just remind me of your choice, Scott. Brendan Rodgers at Leicester. We've had a big chat there about Jose potentially being a wild card. Slaven Bilic for me is probably a wild card, bearing in mind West Brom's expectations are probably to just survive.
I put Scott Parker on mine as well.
Scott Parker from
Fulham. If they start badly,
yeah. Okay, fine, fair enough.
All the relegation candidates.
Yeah,
couldn't they?
I think
if
they get a good start, then they secure themselves for another year, don't they? Yeah. Okay, well, guys, listen. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know who you think is going to be up for the chop first. You've heard our choices. I'm sure you've got a different opinion or a different view on it. Yeah, let us know. I think there's plenty of bigger teams out there that might not hit those expectations that the fans and the media expect, and would certainly put them in the firing line. So we would love to hear your thoughts on that. For now, it's goodbye, and thank you very much for listening, and tune in for the next episode where we'll be discussing our Golden Boot winner selections.